Hello, friends and woolies. Welcome to episode 18 of Wool Gathering Collective. My name is Meredith, and I'm your hostess today. I am Meroshop, Mereoshop, on both Ravelry and Instagram. And on YouTube, you can find this channel at Wool Gathering Collective. I want to thank you for spending some time with me today. I know that life is busy and your time is valuable, so I definitely appreciate you listening, watching, just being here with me. Today is a very special episode. Like every episode, it's special. But today I have a couple of interesting clips to share. The first, as promised, will be from Common Ground Fair that I attended last weekend with a friend. And the second is going to be happening, I think it's going to happen in the Out and About section as well. Yes, we have a very special interview with Patty Lyons. Today is October 1st, and I kept telling myself I wasn't going to turn the heat on until at least October 1st. And I think I'm going to try to go a little bit longer because, I don't know, I'm cheap in that regard. If it's yarn, I'm not cheap. If it's paying for hydro, I am. So, I have on a cozy sweater. I think I showed you about, or told you about this sweater before. It is from Ireland. I bought it there when my friend Whitney and I went last year on a trip. So, it's Donegal tweed. The only thing that I find that I would have done differently if I had knit this myself is I would have made the arms a little longer. Just a wee bit short. I suppose I could wash it and block it and stretch them out. Anyway. So yes, it's purple. I'm in a purple phase right now. So it's cozy and I'm drinking coffee. I'm going to show you the kind. I mean, it's from Home Sense. It's Premium Roasters Java Works Coffee Co. Spicy Pumpkin Pie. That's what it looks like. And it's pretty yummy. I'm drinking it in one of my favorite mugs. And this was made by a local potter. I think I talk about it a lot, so you probably heard this before. So sweaters and slippers and coffee and cozy mugs. And yes, just staying warm. It's a bit chilly inside, but for October 1st, it's nice. Next weekend here is Thanksgiving. So there'll be lots of things going on with family and friends. I think TJ and a friend are going hunting at some point. Well, let's be realistic. They're going to go to a cabin and probably walk around in the woods. I don't know if they'll actually get anything. Or even try to get anything, honestly. I'm not sure. But anyway, that has nothing to do with the podcast. Let's get right down to business, because that's the funnest part of this, I think. Today's segments, let's talk about those. They're going to include finished projects, on the needles, out and about, curating a life, and lots of cool stuff in Woolies section this week. Let's get to it. I can finally show you the Compass Shawl by Shannon Cook. This was a test knit I started earlier this summer for her. Here it is. And it's gorgeous. I think I've told you before, it's knit out of Briggs & Little Regal. Regal or Heritage? I'll have to check my notes. But the color is called Fundy Fog. So the shawl is called Compass, like I said. and it is part of a collection. It's not her collection. It's called Hinterland Straits by the Hinterland Alpaca Yarn Company out west. So there's definitely a lot of designers who created a pattern for this initiative that you would recognize if you listen to the podcast. So Shannon Cook, or Very Shannon, Jane Richmond, Andrea Rangel, I think is how you say her name, or Rangel, I'm not sure. I'm sorry, Andrea. And then there's definitely others as well who created patterns. And so the original compass pattern was written for alpaca yarn. But of course, everyone likes to modify, right? And let's just see. I took some better pictures this morning, so I'll probably post them here as well. You can check out my Ravelry page for all the details. It was a beautiful knit. I've been wearing it around my shoulders on these chilly evenings. It's cozy, it was clever, it was fun to knit. The pattern will be written, it's already written up. I'll give you guys the link to the collection. And as always, Shannon's patterns, they make sense, they're clear, and they have a nice aesthetic to them too. Like the way the pattern's written. Of course, the finished objects have a nice aesthetic. That's part of her appeal. But anyhow, that's the compass shawl, and I'm so excited to finally be showing it to you in its entirety. So I would, I'm not sure right now if you can purchase this particular pattern individually or only, yes, you can. You can purchase the pattern individually. So in the link I'll put in the show notes, you can go and download the lookbook, and you can scroll through and then you can buy the patterns. Kind of like the way Brooklyn Tweed does their lookbooks, where you can buy the individual patterns. So yes, it's up. It's awesome. Thanks, Shannon, for another great pattern. On the needles, I'm still working on the Hansel hat. I have 7 rows left to go. I'll show you. I'm on almost, well, it's the last color change, and then the main color is knit again for a little bit. I'll stretch this out here to show you. It's not blocked. Try to find a corner. Here we go. Here's a corner. So on our short cord, it just makes it easier to go around and around and around, because there are, okay, let me back up. The first shower for Whitney was, like I've told you, in August, and I didn't have this done because life, you know? And then the second shower is tomorrow. Darn it, it's tomorrow. October 2nd. This is not going to be done and blocked, I can tell you that. But honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to go to the shower. I went to the other one with family and friends that I knew, and then this next shower is just for her work friends. But I was invited because I went on a trip with some of them and her one time. So yeah, this isn't going to be done. But so TJ keeps asking why it's taking so long. And quite honestly, I'm going to knit on it as I'm telling you the story, because I'm that desperate to get it done. But TJ keeps asking every night, oh, aren't you done that yet? Aren't you done that yet? And like, for goodness sake, you know, like I work on it every night and for several hours every night. So, I mean, it is a blanket. It is knit in 2-ply yarn. Here's the yarn I'm using. 2-ply jumper weight, 100% real Shetland wool, 125 yards per ball. I did the math. I figured it out. Well, of course, I have more than enough yarn here to do a sweater, definitely. And I figured it out. So I have 7 rows left to go, and that's without doing the fancy knit off border. So 7 more rows is 2,352 stitches. Now, I also did the math. There are 50 rows in the feather and fan section. Let me check my notes. Yes, 50 rows. And that is 16,800 stitches. So, the next time he asks me why it's taking so long, I might just say, how long would it take you to knit 16,800 stitches, TJ? And see what he says. Well, guys, they don't, or anybody really that doesn't knit, they appreciate all the hard work that goes into it, but they don't know the numbers. I mean, not that the numbers are a huge deal. It is what it is. But I think maybe if I tell them, oh, it's 16,800 stitches in this whole section, that's not counting the gray body of the hat. Maybe that'll zip his lip. Do you think? I don't know. Anyway, another thing with doing such a big project is I want to have lovely pictures to remember this, because it's going to be a baby's blanket, and I don't know what it's going to look like after I give it away. I know Whitney appreciates such things, but anyway. So yes, the Hansel hat, 2,352 stitches to go. What else is on the needles? Honestly, not much. I've been focusing solely on this quite a bit. I did work on my Viola socks a bit on the weekend, and I am planning to start a hat for TJ. He picked out the yarn earlier this year, right before summer, actually, and it wasn't really, I didn't want to knit him a hat that was going to be in the closet for the next 5 months, and he wasn't even going to wear. But he, like I said, he's going out to a cabin next weekend, and then he's going to be away for work from October 11th until probably the end of the month. So I'll have lots of time to finish it up for them. It's called the, I don't know how you say this. Can you see that? Stribed? I mean, to me it should say striped hat, but it doesn't. It's a simple hat with simple style for men, women, or kids. Anyway, it was a free pattern. I got it with the yarn, I think, or maybe I paid for it. I can't remember. But it's Plymouth yarn. Worsted, well, it says worsted Aran yarn, but it was a Plymouth yarn that I had bought to go with it. So listen, TJ never asks for anything knitted. He doesn't want knit socks at all. So when he saw that and said, can you knit that for me? I had to say yes, right? So I will be making that. I don't think it'll take very long. It's one of those things you can kind of breeze through. So once this hap is off the needles, I am just dreaming of all the things I'm going to knit. I don't know, so when you have a big project that you're making, how do you break up your time, your knitting time? I guess, yeah, it's like a question that I'd like to hear from you and see what you do. So I guess this comes back to, are you a monogamous knitter, right? Do you only knit one thing at a time? Or if it's a big project, do you try to do little things in between to kind of break up the monotony? do you do a palette cleanser in between projects? Like, when I'm done this, should I try to bang out a really quick and easy little project, or should I start on to my next kind of big thing, which is probably going to be a sweater? What do you do? How do you like to coordinate your knitting time and your knitting projects? I'd love to hear what you have to say about that. Next today is out and about. Out and about, folks. This is going to be a larger section today than usual, and it's not going to be so much me talking to you from here. It's going to be me talking to you from last weekend. And I have some clips and videos I'm going to share from Common Ground. And then my friend Jennifer was at the Make Wear Love retreat, which was also in Maine. And so she got to hang out with Bristol Ivy, and Claire Park showed up, Patty Lyons, Stephanie Pearl McPhee, and oh gosh, who am I missing? The organizer, Amy Herzog. Yes, so they were all there because they were teaching at the retreat. And Jennifer and I were talking, and she said, "Hey, do you want me to interview Patty Lyons for the podcast?" Let me think. Okay. Yes, please. Thank you. That'd be wonderful. So Jennifer did that. I'm going to try to share some of her awesome photos from Maine, and then I'm going to share Patty's interview. And yeah, so let's get started with Common Ground Fair. I went down after work on Friday. I left work a little bit early. I left at around 2. Came home, packed things up in the car, got gas, and got on my way. And I took what I would call a rural route to get down to St. Stephen, which is where I crossed the border into the town of Calais, Maine. So that was fine. The drive, it was a bit long, but it was nice. It was pretty, and I think actually this weekend it would have been even prettier. Like, the leaves on the trees are turning color. I don't know if that happens where you live, but I'll try to share some pictures of that, and then obviously there will be pictures of that on my Instagram. But yeah, so I met my friend Adele in Bangor, Maine, and I'll just tell you this little funny tidbit. It was funny to me anyway. So I'm 34 years old. I am an only child, and I am quite independent. And so I've traveled by myself many places, wherever, like I've gone to Minneapolis by myself. When I lived in Winnipeg, I've been to Boston by myself. When I lived up further in New Brunswick, like planning a trip, getting in the car and going somewhere by myself is not a big deal to me. So I'm crossing the border, and the guy asks where I'm going, and I say, I'm going to Common Ground Fair in Maine. And he goes, by yourself? And he seemed skeptical. And I almost wanted to say, well, I mean, you can't be snippy with a border crossing guard. But I almost wanted to say, yeah, so? Big deal. I didn't. I was nice. I said, no, I'm meeting my friend in Bangor. So anyway, I met Adele in Bangor. We had supper at Chipotle. Then we drove right down Route 1 to Winterport, Maine, where we stayed in the cutest Airbnb. It was an old church. And the upstairs was an event hall. And the back end, the old choir rooms, they have been renovated into Airbnb, and the hostess was fabulous. She was very responsive. She had sunflowers on the counter for us, a little note, and it was really affordable, tons of room, fully stocked kitchen. There was a separate powder room and shower room, so 2 people could be getting ready at once. It was just had a really great atmosphere, and we were kind of disappointed we couldn't stay there for 2 nights, but she was booked for the Saturday night. So we packed up Saturday morning, drove down to Unity, Maine. At one point, you can park your car and take a train into the fairgrounds, which is kind of cool. We had our lunches in the car, so we didn't do that. So maybe another time, if we're more able to just buy food there. The fair was fun as usual, and so like I said, we were there on Saturday. On Friday, the fairhead was open as well, but it poured rain. So I was concerned it would be super busy with all the people from Friday coming on Saturday. We arrived at 10 and it was fine. It wasn't that busy. It was just a nice crowd. What did we do first? Well, other than using the bathrooms. The porta potties. We got our programs. We didn't get to go to any classes. We chose not to. We got our programs. We got some coffee. Very good coffee. I forget the name of the vendor. But what they did, and it really impressed me, is so they had their prices, $3.50 for this for like 8 ounces, $4 for this many ounces and whatnot. And you got a little bit, maybe like 50 cents off if you brought your own cup. So I had brought my own cup, but it was fairly small. It was probably only 5 or 6 ounces. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. But so they gave me a discount, an even larger discount because my cup was so small. So I thought that was quite a honorable thing to do. That was a good business practice. And we didn't get to go back, but I would definitely recommend this company, which I'll put the name down here for you. Yes, and it was delicious coffee too, so that's a bonus. Then we walked through the food vendors, which smelled wonderful. Then we hit up the fiber tents, and I'm going to show you some of the things I picked up in the Curating Life section, but we hit up like the ones we were looking for. We went into the big tent where they were judging fleeces. There were hundreds of sheep fleeces in that tent. It smelled like, a knitter's dream, really. And it was awesome, like, because there were Icelandic sheep. There were, just like mixed breed and merino and everything. Then what? Oh, we walked around, had some, I hit up, I say hit up, that sounds like I'm like a bank robber or something, but we went to the fiber tent, we went to the jewelry tent, the pottery tent, and by this point, it was getting close to noon, and it was getting busy. So remember all those people that didn't come on Friday because it was raining? Well, they showed up on Saturday. And it got to the point that we were in one tent, and I said to Adele, like, I cannot walk through a tent full of so many people. The crowds were it was a sea of people, and I had no desire to wade through that. The fun was gone. So we left that tent and proceeded to the last booth I really, really wanted to visit, and that was Madderroot. So we found her and visited with her and her husband and bought some things and left. We missed out on I guess, more of the agricultural booths, the pumpkins and tomatoes and like the grocery vendors, the farmer vendors. But from there we went to get our lunch. We went to a place called Salad Cowboys. Had a good salad with some local pork, a local egg, salad greens. It was good. It was really yummy. So we did that, and then we went back to the town where we were staying, and we checked into the Winterport Old Commercial House bed and breakfast. And it was an antique store too, so we did that. Checked in there, got all our bags put up. We knit for a while. We made a reservation for supper. And we recorded the clip I'm going to show you next. And then we went and had dinner at a place called the Bacon Tree. And if you're ever in Maine, traveling in between Bangor and Augusta, it's on Route 1 in Winterport, Maine. It's a restaurant owned by a husband and wife, and it serves local fare. The menu changes every week or depending on what they have and what's in season. It was really great. Adele had the fish with I think it was rice or a risotto, and I had steak with local vegetables. And literally everything on the menu would be something I would order. And we sat at the bar. It was the only spot we could get. They were very busy. It was a full house. So reservations are recommended. So we sat at the bar and you could see into the kitchen. And they were like a well-oiled machine. Like, it was really just, they were on the ball. So that was great. I definitely recommend the Bacon Tree. Yeah, the next morning we parted ways. Adele went home. I went back to Bangor, had Chipotle again for lunch. I went to Target and got some necessities and moseyed on home. I stopped at Cricket Cove in Black's Harbor after I crossed back into Canada. And yeah, I was home at a fairly decent time and got unpacked and started my week. It was great. So the video that is coming next is the one I recorded at the old Winterport Commercial House. And I kind of give you a rundown of what we did that day briefly. But more importantly, I announced the next little giveaway that the podcast is doing. So yes, please enjoy my clips of Common Ground. And I will meet you back here. And then we will be zipping down to the Make Wear Love conference, and you will be seeing an interview with Patty Lyons. Hey friends and Woolies, it's Meredith coming to you from the Winterport Commercial House Bed and Breakfast and Antique Shop in Winterport, Maine. My friend Adele and I arrived down here yesterday and we had supper at Chipotle's, which was her first time there, and she liked it. That's a yes. She's holding the phone. And then we drove down here and we stayed at an Airbnb, which was awesome. Just like home away from home. And then we went to the Common Ground Fair today and had a great time there. We just missed seeing Fiber Trek. She was there yesterday and today, and we just missed it. Anyway, better. But I did go to some of my favorite places that I wanted to see. And Adele introduced me to some new ones as well. But the exciting thing is, and the reason I'm recording this video today is because one of the, actually like the first booth that we stopped at was the Taproot booth. And they were giving away copies of their latest issue, which is number 19, and it's called Wander. And here it is. Anyhow, so they're giving away copies, and I had already purchased one. So this copy of Taproot is going to be going to one of you lovely Woolies. And you even get a Taproot pencil. I don't know if it's going to focus. It doesn't have to. Anyway, you're going to get a pencil and a magazine. It's the latest. I said to Adele, like, a lot of people will give out, you know, one of their back-ordered copies that has the most issues left over. They're giving out their best and newest, and I think that's very honorable. All right, so to be eligible to win this copy of Taproot, I will post this question in the Ravelry thread. And this question is, what is your favorite place to wander during autumn, fall equinox, between summer and winter? Where do you like to wander? Yeah, so tell us about that, and you will be entered to win a copy of Taproot, and I will draw for the winner in either the next episode or the one after that. Thanks. Wasn't that fun now? Okay, as I mentioned earlier, my friend Jennifer went to the Make Wear Love conference, and she asked Patty Lyons if she would do a quick interview for us, and she did indeed. The rotation of the screen is going to be a little bit different, but, you know, it just focuses right in on her, so it's great. Lots of great info. I've never really talked about Patty before on the podcast. I do have some of her craftsy classes, but I will be talking about her more in the future, and you'll find out eventually why. Yeah, so please enjoy this interview with Patty Lyons. She's going to be sharing some upcoming things that she's working on, and a huge thank you to Jennifer for reaching out to her and doing the video for me. Enjoy.
Did you have a good weekend?
Yeah, it was great. I love it here.
Yeah, it's beautiful, isn't
amazing.
it? Yeah. So, what's the silliest knitting mistake you've ever made?
I gotta pick one?
Oh, no.
Well, actually, I have a blog series called Patty's Big Box of Knitting Fails. And the blog series comes from when I teach a class. There is never a class that I've taught, never a topic that I've taught that doesn't have one example from Patty's Big Box of Knitting Fails. But I would have to say probably the biggest in both size and volume, and sort of the most well-known, was the inspiration for a talk that I give called Oops, I Accidentally Knit a Dress, Tales of Lies, Heartbreak, and Denial. And it's all inspired by a selfie that I took in the mirror. Perhaps people recognize when you have a terrible sweater on and you take this sad selfie. So I cast on for the sweater back on a plane flying to San Francisco for my last job. I used to be a Broadway stage manager, and I knew it was going to be my last job prior to retiring and going into, well, I didn't know I was going to go into knitting yet. I knew it was my last job and that I was going to retire from theater. So I knew better, yet I did the old, well, I'm using the same yarn the pattern calls for, and I'm using the same needle the pattern calls for, and I'm a good knitter, so I don't need to do a gauge swatch. So I knit the entire sweater back, and it was pretty giant. And whenever I give this talk, I say to a giant room full of knitters, now, when you knit the sweater back, and it is obvious, it is clear as day, it's not going to work, what's the next step? I've never given the talk without at least one knitter hollering out, you cast on for the front. Exactly, you cast on for the front. So then I knit the entire sweater front. And then I say, now when it's absolutely obvious, under no circumstance is this working, now what do? Cast on for the sleeves. So the whole thing is me having knit the front, the back, half of the sleeves, 2 at a time. Because, you know, of course, go big or go home when you make a tragic knitting error. And I seamed the front and the back together in the shoulders, thinking like, well, I'm sure maybe it'll get smaller. And I took the picture in the mirror, and the sweater comes down to my knees, really like a mini dress. And what I learned, in addition to obviously, for God's sakes, make a gauge swatch, is no, the man doesn't change when you marry him, and no, the sweater doesn't get smaller when you seam it. So, yeah, that was a pretty big mistake.
Yeah. And so, what's your next big exciting event? Where do you head off next?
Well, in a couple of days, I head to Minneapolis to teach at a shop there called Three Kittens Needle Arts, and then I head to Louisiana. Then I head to head to Louisiana. It's very hard to remember my schedule. I have a lot of
You're going on a cruise too, aren't you?
Yes, I've got a cruise to the Caribbean. It's an amazing knitting cruise with Melissa Leitman and Laura Nelkin, and the three of us together are kind of madness. Let's just say what happens on the ship stays on the ship. So we're very excited about that. That's in December. That's an enormous amount of fun, and then on and on and on and on. Basically, I've got my schedule set through 2017 and kind of into the first half of 2018. So.
Oh, including the fall 2017.
Yes, the fall of 2017. Am I allowed to say it? Is it
Yeah,
announced
it's,
yet?
oh yeah, it's announced. It went up. The registration is on September 28th. It's up.
I'm going to Knit East, which is really exciting for me because a lot of my friends have done it and sort of in fact, both Laura and Melissa have done it.
Yep.
And they were kind of waxing all poetical about it. So yeah, I'm really excited.
Yeah. And do you have something else big coming up in February too?
Well, I have another knit along. It's very excited. We had finished it's the Corcoran knit along. So we did the Corcoran knit along on my Ravelry page, and it was an amazing group. And it's actually in a way still going on, even though the dates of the knit along are over. We had 350 knitters, and I want everyone to work at their own pace. So my knit alongs are a little unusual. They come with about 2 hours of video content and tutorials and all sorts of fun things. But I've finished designing my next sweater that makes its debut with 20 lucky knitters on the cruise.
Ooh.
But then the full knit along launches in February, and we're going to have video tutorials and how-tos and sweater modifications and all that fun stuff. But between Corcoran and my next one, to keep my knitters happy, in early October I'll be launching Patty's Fall Knitting Challenge, which is just kind of a throwdown, just a little throwdown challenge to see how many of my patterns you can at least start between the middle of October and the middle of January, and there's going to be prizes every single week.
Wow, that's
shipped out
pretty
to
great.
people with 2 incredibly big grand prizes. So
Awesome.
yeah.
And so what's your favorite tip that you give people? Is there one that you can share? I know you've got about 3
About a
billion.
million of them. Well, it depends whether it's a knitting tip, which are hard to explain in words, or a conceptual tip. I would say for sweater knitters, the most important tip that I could give is your tape measure touches your knitting twice. Once when you measure your gauge and once when you block. Otherwise, lock it in a drawer. So when that pattern says, and now knit straight for 8 inches, now knit armhole and till, what it really means, but we can't say it this way, is now knit straight until armhole measures 8 inches worth of your finished row gauge.
So you should be counting.
Oh yeah, baby. So from the very beginning, go through all the inch instructions, cross them all out, and replace them with confidence and grace in your true finished row gauge, meaning it's blocked, it's hung if you think it might be a grower. Oh, I have teacher throat.
No.
That's what I sound like after 3 days of teaching. Hi. Hi, it's really sexy, isn't it?
That's great. Well, thanks so much, Patty. I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to the Wool Gathering Collective.
I'm so excited to talk to you guys. Bye, tiny people inside of a camera.
In Curating Life today, I wanted to say that my latest issue, it's volume 2 of the Shetland Wool Week magazine, has arrived. And it's beautiful. I haven't fully had a chance to read all the articles, but I did flip through it, and it's just as wonderful as the first one was. Shetland Wool Week has been, I think it just finished. It started last week and went. I'd love to attend someday. It's definitely something you have to plan for. So maybe in like 2018 I could go. We'll see. But yeah, Shetland Wool Week. So last year, you might remember the Babel hat. That was extremely popular. That was, who wrote that pattern? I just saw her name in here. Donna Smith. She wrote that pattern. So because she was the patron of the event last year. This year, the patron was Ella Gordon, and she created the Croft House hat. And she also added a fingerless mitten pattern as well. But this is what it looks like. Cool, eh? Pretty. The cute little croft hooses. Croft hoose or croft house? I'm not sure how it's said. So this came, and I'm probably gonna take a nice long bath tonight and read that at some point. I also want to show you a couple of things that I picked up at the Common Ground Fair. What's first? All right. I saw this bundle and just had to have it. I love the colors. And they gave me the patterns to go with the bundle. So that was a bonus. So this is from Good Karma Farm. GoodKarmaFarm.com is their website. And I believe they're on Facebook. Oh, there we go. Those are the colors. So this one is pinky. It's hard to see. My lighting isn't the best. This one's pinky. This one's like more of a bone color. Grays, bluey grays. There we go, maybe. Yes, Good Karma Farm. I like their little sheep. So that was a bundle. The yarn is wool and alpaca. 60 wool, 40 alpaca. Color Blurs is the name of the bundle. And there's 450 yards total. So you could also do a great gradient shawl with this. That'd be gorgeous. Anyhow, they gave me the pattern for a hat and cowl. A slip stitch gradient cowl and chain of pawns hat. Here's the hat pattern. So, yeah. Awesome. I was really happy to come across them. I also came across, so I knew that Good Karma Farm was going to be there. I was specifically looking for them, as well as a few other booths. But this one I came across purely by accident. It's called Lana Planta Farmed Yarns. And she does all of her dyeing with natural dyes. So I got this one. This one was dyed with cochineal. This one's fun. I'm so into orangey and yellows right now. This one was dyed with marigold. Look how bright. This is actually what it actually looks like. Yep. And then I picked up. So that's her fingering, 450 yards, rambouillet. It's a rambouillet yarn. And I have never knit with rambouillet. It almost has you know how cotton feels almost dry when you touch it, like almost like a brushed, dry feeling. The rambouillet has a similar characteristic. Like, how do these colors go together? I don't know. Let's see here. And I bought 3 of these, 3 of the gray. And this one was dyed with sumac. It's also a rambouillet. And then, oh gosh, this is her alpaca rambouillet. So I bought these 2 to go together. And it's more of a loose 2-ply. This is natural. She said this is how it comes back from the mill. And this one was dyed with fern. Awesome, eh? I was really happy to find this local farm. She's from Buxton, Maine, and her website is lanaplante.com. LANAPLANTAE.com. A world without yarn is chaos. I would agree. Yeah, so those were my purchases there. I did get a couple things from Matterroot, which you'll see on upcoming episodes, mostly just some project bags and whatnot. I bought some for gifts as well, so I'm not showing them quite yet because I don't know who's getting what. I'm slouching. Sorry. Yesterday, I picked up some plastic storage tubs. They're small because I wanted to put all my summer shoes away so that they wouldn't just have winter boots thrown on them all winter. And that got me thinking that, like, right now I have a big box in the front hall closet, and it has everything: shawls, hats, mittens, scarves, slippers, you name it. Hand knit, it's in there. Or winter wear, kind of. And I kind of thought, well, it would be nice maybe if I had like a 3-tiered or 4-tiered storage unit that, you know, one drawer would have shawls and scarves, one drawer would have mittens and whatnot. And then it occurred to me to ask you folks how you store your winter things so that they're right accessible. And yeah, do you have a closet that you dedicate to that? Do you keep your knit things separate from your like snowmobiling gloves or your snow shoveling gloves? Or do you live in Florida where you don't have to worry about such madness? I'd like to know what you think. So just tell me in the Ravelry thread or down below here in the YouTube comments. I would love to hear how you store your knits, especially your winter or your off-season knits. Because there's things I wear all year round, like my socks. So I wouldn't store my hand knit socks with those things because it would be impractical. But yeah, I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. So that's all for Curating Life today. Oh, but I should say I bought these at Common Ground as well. They're both kind of fall-y. So this one is it's called Bug Life. It reminded me of a friend. Toki Artisan. And this one is by Letterpress, Morris and Essex. I bought several things from her as well, but mostly paper goods and a dishcloth. I have the dishcloth. I may as well show you. Oh, I bought 2. This one has mushrooms. And this one is of the great state of Maine. So, hopefully, well, it says 100% cotton, so I hope that they suck. I hope they suck water off all my wet dishes, because if they don't, I won't be using them for very long. Linen is the best for that, but some cotton is really good, so I'm sure they're good quality, but we'll find out. Yes, that's all for Curating Life today. The next section is Woolies. My favorite segment every week is Woolies, and here we are. Let's start off with the Canada Cal. I closed the thread this morning when I got up, and I realized I did not enter my compass shawl on any Canada Cal thread. I wasn't sure if it was going to be released in time for me to do that, but it was, but yesterday was crazy. I totally missed on doing that, which is okay. But yeah, yesterday was crazy. I'm dog sitting a dog named Toby. He's over there sleeping on his bed. And so I had to coordinate picking him up. My parents were in Fredericton at a stamp show. So I went in to meet them. I had to do a bunch of returns in Fredericton. TJ's all over the place because a close friend of his passed away yesterday. And so he and his other friend are in preparation for the ceremony for that. And I wasn't really on the computer very much. So it didn't get entered, but that's okay. I didn't knit it to win a prize anyway. So in my group, there were 314 entries. So I'm blown away by that. I think that's fantastic. I think, looked at every entry, and if I haven't looked at everyone, I will be making sure that each one qualifies, and then I will be figuring out the prizes. It'll be draws, it'll be random number generator, and it's gonna be fun seeing who won what and everything. And I think in addition to the prizes that were donated by vendors, I guess for lack of a better word, I'm going to put together a little, I'm not going to call it an honorable mention. I'm just going to, what should I do? Maybe it might be a random draw, but I'm going to put together a little prize for somebody who entered the Canada Cal on the Wool Gathering site. I'm not sure what I'll do yet. But it will be completely fair and bipartisan on my part. So I forgot to do the project of the episode last week. So I thought this week I would choose two. And I decided to pick to share with you both the first and last projects that were shared on the Wool Gathering Collective Canada Cal thread. Now, the very first one was my Couchin hat, so I'm not going to show that to you. But the second to my own was the Spindrift Shawl, knit in Yummy Yarn Studio yarn, and that was made by Yarn Yakker. And so here's a look at that. It's a nice shawl, nice shape. I like the colors. So this was the first project shared, other than my own. And the last project shared were the Earth Mitts by Dana Ray 19. I don't know what yarn she used. I'll have to go look. So yeah, those are just the projects of the episode. Thank you, Woolies, for sharing those. Now it's time for the draw for the vegan sampler pack. So as you know, last episode, number 17, I showed you the sampler pack and I asked for you to tell me what the most interesting yarn you ever knit or spun with was. And I had lots of great answers, and now I'm going to choose a winner. So all the names are in my honey mug, and they're all on paper, folded up. I'm going to draw a name of a winner. Okay. Here we go. Here's the winner. Yay, congratulations. I should probably pull up and see what your most unique or most common, no, what your most unique yarn that you ever spun or knit with was. I can't remember off the top of my head because there were so many cool ones. Okay, let's find out. You can sing the Jeopardy song for me. Okay. Just so you know, 12 people. Well, there were 12 entries for that one. Okay, here we go. So, the winner, you're from York, Pennsylvania. And you said, the strangest yarn I've ever tried to knit were the Habu Textiles stainless steel and paper yarns. The most unusual fiber I've spun has been some native churro fleece. It was very hairy, but the yarn was strong and very warm. It's traditionally used for making rugs. Thanks for the chance to win these lovely looking vegan fibers. Well, you have won. So I will be sending you a message, and if you see this before I do so, please send me a PM with your mailing address, first and last name. Now I'll get those off to you. Yay! Thanks for everyone who entered. And Sam's shop is on Etsy, so if you are disappointed you didn't win, who wouldn't be, you do have the opportunity to go snag some for yourself. Oh, I need a drink. All this talking. All right, so you saw me talk about the Taproot Magazine draw, so don't forget to enter that. And the last thing I wanted to talk about in Woolies today is the fact that the Knit East 2017 signups have opened. They opened last Wednesday. The signups for the classes have opened, and I'm pretty sure I got all the classes I want signed up. First thing on Wednesday morning, my network at work is extremely slow, especially when a lot of people are logging on first thing in the morning. So I had to go out in the hall and use my phone to try to get the classes I wanted. So it all went well. I'm taking a class from Deb Barnhill on socks, a couple of classes from Patty Lyons, and who else? I can't remember right now off the top of my head. But I'm very excited for that. That will be next October. It is the same weekend as Rhinebeck, unfortunately, but just logistics dictated that it had to be that weekend. So, if you can't make it to Rhinebeck, or if you don't want to go to such a big fiber festival, I would highly encourage you to look at Knit East. It's held in St. Andrews, New Brunswick, and it's at the beautiful Algonquin Resort. And there's always great classes. There's yoga for knitters, a gorgeous marketplace, a beautiful town, beautiful scenery, beautiful people, nice, lovely folks. And it is put on by Cricket Cove. It was their dream child, and they brought it to fruition. The first year, I think, was 2013. So, yeah, it's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. So, it is 12:54 p.m. I'm going to have some lunch, finish drinking my coffee, finish some other things, and yeah, tidy up this stuff. And I'm not sure what the rest of the day will hold, but yeah, it's a good day, and I really, again, appreciate you for joining me here, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care until then. Bye-bye.